Salvete discipoli. Today we're going to review the uses of the ablative in addition to learning a new use of the ablative of cause. So first, to review the uses of the ablative that we've already learned in year 1, of course we have our dear friend Sid Space, the ablative astronaut, to help us remember all of the prepositions in Latin that require an ablative noun right behind it to complete the prepositional phrase. We have sine, without, in or on, de, about or concerning, sub, under, pro, on behalf of, a or ab, away from or just from, cum, with, and a or ex, from or out of. And if you don't remember what these prepositions mean, go ahead and pause the video so that you can get these into your notes. Now, some of the uses of our SID space prepositions actually have names based on what they're doing. Our first use is the ablative of accompaniment, which is used with the prepositions cum or sine. Our example, cum amicis, indicates with whom you are going someplace or doing something with friends. And even though sine means without, it's almost like an ablative of lack of accompaniment, so it's included in this type of ablative. We also have the ablative of place, which is going to use one of those SID space prepositions that indicate place, such as in, sub, a or ab, a or x, such as our example, sub arbore, under the tree. Any of these 4 prepositions, if it's used, it's going to indicate where something is happening, and this will be the ablative of place. Now, one of the more difficult things about the ablative case is when it is used without a preposition in the Latin, because you need a preposition for the English to make the most sense. And it becomes a choice of which type of ablative is it, what question is it answering, so you can choose the correct English preposition to translate and to read and to understand. The ablative of time is frequently recognized by some sort of time word. Here we have eo tempore, at that time, and tempus is of course the word meaning time, so it's a big indicator of the ablative of time. Other words that you might see are day or night or hour or minute. All of those time words would be a good indication that it is an ablative of time, and typically we'll translate it with at, in, or on, depending on your phrase. The ablative of manner will sometimes actually have a preposition, but sometimes it doesn't. So for our example, magna cum voce could also be magna voce, and either way it means with a loud voice. We need the translation of with. Now, the ablative of manner answers the question how something happens rather than when something happens, like the ablative of time. And the most important thing to remember for ablative of manner is that you're not going to be able to touch this noun. A voice is something that is not tangible, it's abstract, and you can't touch it. On the other hand, the ablative of means or instrument is something that you can touch. That's how you tell these two apart. One is something you cannot touch, the other is something that you can touch, even though they're both going to answer the question how. The other way that you can distinguish these is that for sure the ablative of means and manner will absolutely never have a preposition cum. It will be just a word like baculo in the ablative. And of course we need to translate this with a preposition in the English. Finally, we have another use of the ablative without a preposition. This is the ablative of cause, and like its name suggests, it's going to assign blame or fault to someone. It's going to talk about the cause of somebody else being a certain state. Instead of the other ablative uses such as time, means, or manner, it's going to answer the question why. Why is somebody in a certain state? What is the cause of that? Common translations for this: for, from, by, with, due to, and of course, based on the name itself, the end all be all because of is probably the best translation option. For example, tua culpa raida est in fossa. because of your fault, the carriage is in the ditch. Now this sounds a little stilted in the English, even though we're using our best translation option, which is what the rest of these are for, is to play around with to really get the best possible translation in English. And instead of because of your fault, I would say due to your fault, the carriage is in the ditch, or even it is your fault, the carriage is in the ditch. In just a moment, I'm going to show you a list of phrases on the board, and I'd like you to practice translating each of these as an ablative of cause, and you can use the default because of translation, or if you would like, if one of the others make more sense to you in everyday English, for, from, by, with, or due to, feel free to use one of those as well. The important thing is that you are answering the question, why? Go ahead and pause the video as you try to figure out the best translation for these ablatives of cause. Possible answers would be comotus magna ira, moved by great anger, or moved due to great anger, even moved with great anger. Itinera defesus, tired because of the journey, or tired from the journey. Labore et aestu defesi, same idea, tired from work and the heat. And then ego amore necavi, I killed due to love, or I killed for love. So just as a quick reminder, when you encounter a word in the ablative case, if it has a preposition, just go ahead and translate with whatever that preposition means. If, on the other hand, it doesn't have a preposition, you're going to need to pick the best possible preposition in English, and that's going to be based on what question it is answering. If it answers the question when, choose the translation options of in, on, or at. If it answers the question how, choose with or by means of as a translation option. And if it answers the question why, that's our new ablative of cause. And a good way of always translating the ablative of cause correctly is with because of. That's all for our new ablative uses and a review of the ablative. Walete discipuli.